5 people have qualified for Altered's first World Championship, and none of them were playing my girl Lindiwe. Do I have a chance to be the first one to qualify with her? Let's see how these matches go and find out. Hey yo, what up? Welcome back. Today I'm doing some Whispers, or I should say, Whispers from the Maze, Lindiwe gameplay. In a couple of weeks, the World Championship qualifier in Dallas will be taking place, and I'll be there. This is going to be one of the decks that I'm considering playing there. So this video is mostly going to be me playtesting some cards, some uniques that I've picked up, and really trying to win with this deck. Not saying that I don't try to win with my other decks, but this is one that I'm really trying to focus on. Most of the cards in this deck are from the first set, and they've been around for almost a year now. The first set released in September of last year, so I won't harp on a lot of what the cards in this deck are. You've probably seen them if you watched any amount of Lindiwe gameplay, or you're familiar with Lindiwe at all. I think it's more interesting to just talk about the new cards from Whispers from the Maze and what my uniques do. We're actually only playing 7 new cards from Whispers. I'll start with my commons first, then go into rares, and then I'll talk about the uniques. So the first one I wanted to mention is Sigismar Nurse. I'm not actually a believer of this card. I've played with it a little bit, and I don't love it. It's taking the place generally, if you're looking at lists on 39 cards, of the Categoran Alchemist. And I like the Alchemist a lot. It's really good on turn 1. It's essentially a 3-mana 3/3/3 and a 1-mana 1/1/1 from reserve. You really like those stats. It's very simple, very basic, but it does exactly what it needs to do. This Sigismar Nurse, you can't really play it on turn 1. A 3-mana 2/2/2 is almost certainly going to lose to whatever your opponent is doing. And sure, you can maybe activate your Maw if you're the first player and sacrifice it to make a 3-mana 4/4/4, but that's not any better or different than just playing the Alchemist, in my opinion. And then the back half of this card is just a 2-mana 2/2/2 that doesn't do anything. In my opinion, that's significantly worse than the Alchemist because it is twice as expensive. A 1-mana 1/1/1 that doesn't do anything is much better than a 2-mana 2/2/2 that doesn't do anything. So yeah, I'm skeptical on this card. I'm not really sure if I'll really end up liking it or not, but the next common that I wanted to talk about is Pasiphae. I'm only playing one of these right now, and Pasiphae is really in the deck to just line up well against Sigismar, or if any deck is going wide with 1/1/1 tokens, which is generally going to be Sigismar. You can kind of consider her a haymaker. So as your opponent makes their plays and makes a bunch of tokens, you can slam this at the end of a turn. As a 2-mana, I match your board state. The only problem with that is if your opponent is boosting their tokens with like the Monolith, for example, Pasiphae is not going to stand up to those tokens. In my experience, this card is decent as a one-of, but again, I'm just playtesting with this. I'm not actually sure if it'll make the cut. Moving on to the rares, we're trying out the Sigismar Mothbreeder. I actually think this is one of the best cards for Lindiwe in the new set. Lindiwe's rare slots are pretty restricted already, but this one is good, so I'm trying to make room for it. I'm only playing 2 at this time, but I could see an argument for 3 at some point. In my opinion, this card is just an upgraded Categoran Alchemist, and I would much rather play this, especially if it was common with these stat lines and these effects. It's just hard to make room in the rare slot right now. And then the last card from the latest set that I wanted to talk about, my last rare here, is License Withdrawal. This isn't super exciting, it's just more removal. I'm kind of playing it as a pseudo 4th copy of Off You Go that can target permanents. Sure, we have Boom in our list that can already target permanents, but it does require you to sacrifice a character, and License Withdrawal doesn't have that. But it does require you to target something with a specific mana cost. I think this card will play out just fine. I'm always happy to have more removal in my deck. And then moving on to the uniques. So if you've watched any of my previous Lindiwe videos, you'll recognize one of these, but the other 2 are ones that I'm playing around with. The first one I wanted to start with is this Ortis Trooper. It's 2 from hand, 1 from reserve, 1/2/1. Very simple. When played from hand, draw a card. The stat line leaves a little bit to be desired for 2 mana, but you can't really be mad when it's drawing you a card. And 1 mana from reserve for a 1/2/1. Very happy with that. This is a great body to sacrifice, and it's played very well for me in my testing. Moving on to the next unique, I have this Categoran Alchemist, which is 2 from hand, 1 from reserve, 1/1/1. This says when played from hand, target character gains 1 boost. So it's reasonably flexible, which I like. It's a 1/1/1 that can make itself a 2/2/2, or if you just need to win the other expedition, you can play this as a 1/1/1 there and boost your other side, which is nice. Like I was saying, I like this flexibility. It also has this second line of text that says, when I'm sacrificed, resupply, so it recoups your loss when you sacrifice this character, which, you know, is a nice benefit. Then it has one more ability, which is the support ability of After You. So you can discard this to make your opponent make the next move. I think this is pretty underrated, especially considering this card is just a 2-mana 2/2/2 when you need it. You can sacrifice it to resupply. I don't know. I love the flexibility of this card. I just picked it up on the marketplace, and it was pretty cheap. I think I spent somewhere around 10 bucks for this. And I'm excited to give it a shot. As for my third unique, we're working with an Amarok. This is one of my favorite cards. Amarok is a pet card of mine. If you've watched any of my previous Lindiwe videos, I've played the rare Amarok as a one-of in most of my lists. But I've picked up this unique on the marketplace, and I've been very happy with it. So this is 3 from hand, 5 from reserve, 4/3/3. It says if there are no characters in the expedition I'm played in, I cost 1 less. So essentially a 2-mana 4/3/3 when played from hand. The second line of text says, when another character joins my expedition, sacrifice 1 character. If you've seen unique Amaroks, you know that this templating of sacrificing another character can be a variety of different lines. This one, I think, is the best version of those lines, because you don't actually have to sacrifice a character in the Amarok's expedition. You can sacrifice it in the other one. You don't have to sacrifice the character that you just played. For example, if you need to sacrifice this Amarok, you can. And then the third line of text says, when I leave the expedition zone, if I was fleeting, draw a card. Love to see draw a card on a unique. I think this card is swell all around, and it's been playing well for me. There's probably better options, especially for Amarok. This one was a relatively cheap one that I found. I don't remember the exact price, but maybe somewhere around $30. As I said, I don't want to harp too long on the deck, and I've already talked quite a bit, so let's move on to the gameplay. Up against Sierra and Oddball. So we're on the draw, or we're not the first player this game. Boom is pretty good against Sierra. They play a bunch of high mana cost permanents, but man, having 2 in my opening hand is not really ideal. I like this Ortis Trooper Mobile Armory combo. I probably get rid of 1 Boom, a Chrysalis, and then I have to decide one of these cards to cut. The worst card in my hand is probably just another Chrysalis, sadly. This looks fine. If our opponent leads with a 3-mana permanent, we do have the option to beat them based on the Brass Bug that they make. We can overpower it. So they do lead on a 3-mana permanent. Not a surprise. It is the Ouroboros, so they get this choice here. When they resupply, they're going to keep a common Brass Bug Hive. They're going to make their 2/2. So I guess my current game plan is to just try and beat them on this side. Seems like a decent one. I draw a card. Let's just play this Mobile Armory and win this side. We get the 1-0 victory on our companion side, which is Lindiwe's strong side. You know, that's where the Maw is created. Okay, so we drew a Moonlight Jellyfish. Big fan of that card. What we could do this turn is try to... we probably save this Boom for a Brass Bug Hive, right? So does that mean we're playing Amarok plus maybe Make Maw and Gift of Self to draw a bunch of cards? Or we could Amarok this left side and Moonlight Jellyfish it twice. Or Mobile Armory once and this once. That's kind of interesting. One of these two has got to go, and it seems like it's the Gift of Self. I'd love a Gift of Self, but I think we've got to get rid of it here based on our opponent's deck. I think we just lead with this Amarok. Our 2-mana 4/3/3 here. And then we will plan to make them all on this right side, and we can Jellyfish twice, or we can Mobile Armory once, and Jellyfish once. And that can make both sides a 4/3/3 and a 4/4/4, which, you know, nothing to scoff at on turn 2 here. That beats this. When I go to reserve from the expedition zone, roll a die. On a 4+, create 2 Brass Bug tokens in target expedition. Interesting. If your hand is empty, draw a card, otherwise resupply. Huh. So they have completely tapped out. So yeah, let's just continue with our game plan of make them all. Play our Mobile Armory and sacrifice that token to our Amarok. And get this 2-0 victory here. We are going to have to discard a card from our reserve, but I think that's okay. Seems like it's worth the 2-0 here. Opponent gets 1 Brass Bug. Let's go ahead and get rid of this unique. The 1-mana 1/2/1 is fine, but we kind of just want this synergy that we've got going on our reserve. Oh, another Jellyfish. This Alchemist is okay, but it's not actually doing a whole lot right now. I don't have a plethora of ways to sacrifice it, so I think I'm going to get rid of it. With this Amarok, you can kind of just feed it Jellyfish, and it will buff your it will buff your guy, and it will buff your maw, and it will draw you some cards, which is pretty exciting. So this turn we can just tie this right side and destroy this Brassbug Hive, which is fine. I can make my jellyfish, make my maw, and boom this Brassbug Hive. I have to hope that they don't activate this Nisei on the Brassbug Hive, though, if I go that route. Because otherwise, I could make my maw, boom the Brassbug Hive, and then have 1 mana left over that doesn't actually do anything. So I need my opponent to not activate this Nisei and make a Brassbug. Let's see what they do. Hopefully they just resupply. Oh, they do activate the Brassbug Hive. Okay. That is okay. I could, instead of destroying the Brassbug Hive, I could target a Brassbug, but that seems not worth it. Yeah, I mean, I am just booming, I think. We've got to get this Brassbug Hive off of the board, unfortunately. So they get the 2-0 here, but that's okay. I'm still up 1 expedition. We're kind of even on cards. They do have a permanent. I'm up first. Sigismar Nurse is interesting. Blizzard could be okay against my opponent. They seem to be making a bunch of Brassbugs. This Nurse is probably worse than this Amarok currently is. So let's plan to, this turn, play Amarok and then Jellyfish twice. That seems like my best option. So let's play Amarok on this left side and then just plan to buff up my Maw by playing my Jellyfish into the Amarok expedition twice. That seems like a pretty decent play. It'll draw me 2 cards based on this Amarok drawing a card when it leaves and this Moonlight Jellyfish drawing a card. Hopefully that is good enough. I'm not actually sure if it will be. My other option is I could play this Jellyfish and Gift of Self and see what happens. Maybe that's better. So I guess we can plan for that. My opponent has a lot of cards in their hand, so I'm trying to make the best, or to make the most informed decision before I just slam a 4-drop. Okay, let's make our Maw, and then Gift of Self this Jellyfish here. We find a Baba's Isba, which is pretty good here. Big fan of that card. Our opponent plays this Axiom Salvager, which will resupply, and they find more options to resupply with this Gibble. So let's go Baba's Isba. Draw another card. License Withdrawal. So that can deal with an Ouroboros, which is nice. Can't do it this turn. They opt to activate the Ouroboros. They find 2 Bug-Out Bags. That's an excellent card on this board state. They can make a bug and activate Sierra to make another bug and completely block this right side. They opt not to do that. They probably would have won both expeditions if they did. Find another Bug-Out Bag, their 3rd Bug-Out Bag, and an Icebound Hollow. They keep the Hollow. If you're not familiar, this card says, when a card goes from your hand or deck to reserve, it gains a counter, and then after you do that 3 times, you make a 5/5/5 and ready all cards in reserve. Oh, I forgot this doesn't actually make the bug from reserve. Okay, so that was just a brain fart there. And I don't actually need to do anything else, right? They could have a mechanical training, but it just makes the bug on this left side. I think I am safe to pass. My other option is playing this Jellyfish and sacrificing it to make a 4/4 and draw a card, but yeah, I mean, maybe being mana efficient is just better and not losing to like a random 1 mana card. I'm not sure. Let me know what you would have done in the comments. I think this is fine because it draws me a card, so I don't actually feel that far behind. I'm still up 1 expedition. We're pretty even on cards here. I find a second copy of Blizzard, which I definitely don't need. So let's go ahead and get rid of one of those. They play this Icebound Hollow, and I can spend my turn discarding it, or spend 2 mana to just go ahead and discard it. Or I can wait until they try and invest a little bit more into it and make this 5/5/5, which is maybe better. Like, I could play this Amarok on this left side. Yeah, I think that's okay. I'll try and make them, commit a little bit more. This wins this left side. If they want to commit more here, that's okay. They Frozen Delivery. That is just fine. Our opponent's deck is pretty cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and license withdraw this Icebound Hollow. They have 3 mana left. Let's see what they can do with it. There's an argument to be made to hit this Ouroboros, but their plan this turn was to make a 5/5/5, clearly. Okay, so they're beating me on this side, and that's okay. I can play this Jellyfish on the right side or this Studious Disciple. Probably the Disciple. Makes my next spell cost less, so let's just do that. Still trading 1 for 1 here, which is great. Assuming they don't find, any way to cheese me. I expect they keep this Brass Bug Hive, and I really need to draw a Tooth Fairy. Or a Boom, I guess. I could sacrifice this Amarok, but that doesn't really do anything, so let's just go ahead and pass. Trade 1 for 1. Find an Off You Go, which could be relevant, but I don't expect it to be that important this game. Pasiphae, also not going to be good this game. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Unfortunately, I did not find a Tooth Fairy in the top, 13 cards of my deck? No. The top 23 cards of my deck. I was thinking of limited. That is unfortunate. So I can't deal with this Brass Bug Hive right away. If they spend 6 mana this turn playing Brass Bug Hive, they're going to make 2 3/3/3s. And I think I just lead with a Moonlight Jellyfish. And try to play it on the side where it has stats, I suppose. Yeah, not a surprise. They play the Brass Bug Hive. They make 2 3/3/3s. Hopefully they play them on both, or this one side, so that I can Blizzard it effectively. So if I'm planning to Blizzard this turn, I could make my Maw and sacrifice this Jellyfish to After You. That seems just fine. They play Mechanical Training, and then they can also activate this Inari to make another Brass Bug. I don't have another way to sacrifice anything in my hand, so they have 1 mana left over. They can make another 3/3/3 for free, essentially, with this Inari. I can make my Blizzard cost 1 less by discarding this Disciple. That seems fine. So I'd have 4 mana in that case. So I could play this Moth Breeder on this right side. And just plan to Blizzard this right side. Let's go with that. Oh, they had another Mechanical Training. Okay. They make another 3/3/3 on this side. And then they can discard and make another 3/3/3. But if they make one more with this, it doesn't actually win them this side. So I can just Blizzard here. That seems like the best option. So let's go ahead and do that. They're probably just going to pass. They decide to make the 3/3 or maybe resupply. Yeah, they do resupply here. Oh, they're playing Bug Fix. Interesting. The only counters I've seen in their deck is these boosted brass bugs that they're creating. Yep, this is just fine. And now I just need to win one expedition, which may or may not be a challenge based on having a rare brass bug hive and 2 mechanical trainings in their reserve. I've already gotten rid of my second blizzard here, and I only have 1 way to sacrifice currently. Okay, a Tooth Fairy is just fine. I don't think we need a second Off You Go. Is a second Off You Go better than a Chrysalis? Chrysalis makes the most power on this side, because I can go Chrysalis, make Maw, sacrifice it, and have, what is that? 4/4/4 worth of stats for 3 mana? It's not actually that good. It might be best to just play this Jellyfish, sacrifice it, to draw a card and try to find something more relevant. I'm likely to use all my mana this turn, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so I need to use all of my mana this turn. Let's get rid of this Off You Go, I think. They make their 3/3/3 as expected. They'll probably play a mechanical training. Oh no, they have a unique Amelia Earhart. When you play a permanent, resupply. Okay. That's a prime candidate for Off You Go. So we can just play our Tooth Fairy and get rid of one of these mechanical trainings. These mechanical trainings present themselves as 2 mana 3/3/3. We're not really in the best spot, to be honest. Maybe we want to play this Jellyfish first so that we can draw another card and get more information before we do anything else. Okay, so they have another Brass Bug Hive. Oh boy. Okay. They only have 1 mana left. And as it stands, they can't play anything that they have. Man, second Off You Go is looking pretty good here. Sadly, I don't have the second Off You Go. So I guess what I need to do is just make my Maw and After You and see if I can scrounge something together here. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, second Off You Go. Well, they just pass. That's it. Okay. Incredible game. What a way to finish this game. That is so funny. Okay. Just double Off You Go their last 2 characters on this side, and we win the game. Insane. GG. What a fun game against Sierra. I don't think we had any business winning that game, to be honest. Their deck was really cool. We are up against Sigismar. Okay, this should be a good test for the Dallas World Championship qualifier. So we have some really good cards in our opening hand here. I mentioned this in the deck tech that I don't think Ysmir Nurse is very good at the beginning of the game, so that is likely the first thing to go. Baba's Isba is amazing, one of the best cards in the deck. Boom is pretty good, depending on the Sigismar build that they're playing. If they're playing the one that cares about permanence, then I want Boom. But it's maybe not good right now. So I could see keeping these 3. Tooth Fairy's also not that great, so maybe I can keep License Withdrawal to deal with a potential problematic character or cheap permanent. Yeah, maybe this is the keep. And plan to Baba's Isba. I don't really have a cheap creature, sadly. Or cheap character, I should say. Maybe Ysmir Nurse is not that bad right now, because I'm on the player. I'm the first player. So I can activate, make Maw, sacrifice it, and get a 4/4/4. Make sure I don't lose. Maybe that's the correct play. Get rid of these 2 removal spells. That feels pretty bad, but I think that's it. I hate not starting with a Baba Zizba, but I didn't have a 1-mana character to play. So let's just start with this Ysmir Nurse and have a 4/4/4, and hopefully they can't deal with it. I could see a world where they just pass. Just do nothing. Both of us spent a long time picking our decks and our opening hand, so neither of us have more than a minute on our clock at the beginning of this game. Very funny. And that is exactly what they do. They just pass the turn. Okay. That's so crazy, man. That's why Sigismar is so good. They literally don't have to play a card and they can advance. It's so funny. I drew a pair of really good cards together, the Chrysalis and the Moth Lantern. I have a bunch of 2-drops to play, including the Nurse from my reserve. This turn I'd really like to set up for this Baba Zizba. So that is what I'll plan to do, and I'll probably get rid of this Moth Lantern. I generally err on the side of having more characters in my hand than more sacrifice outlets, and if I get Baba Zizba online, then I have a repeatable one. So let's get rid of this Moth Lantern. It's generally a better card later in the game anyway. I'm hoping they commit to this side, and they do. Whoa. They're playing Sunisa. And this expedition is behind. Well, that changes my play quite a bit. I don't actually want to play this Baba Zizba anymore. I could just play this 2-mana 2/2/2 on either side and try to win. Since I know they're playing Sunisa, I don't want them to stay behind. So I don't want to win this side. I want to win this left side. So let's play this Ysmir Nurse on this left side and just see what they do with 1 mana. Because my plan now is to just play this Ortis Trooper, since they only care about Mountain here. Hopefully this Ortis Trooper, which lines up well against Mountain, will do exactly what I need. They have 1 mana left, and it is a Bumble Beat. So thankfully this Ortis Trooper is going to just go right over the top, put me at 4 Mountain. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Get to draw a card. It is another Baba Zizba. Not the worst in multiples. Bumblebeat. Really interesting build they've got going on here. Rare Sunisa, rare Bumblebeat. And we are tied up. Okay, so we have... Oh, man, I'm tempted to get rid of one of these Baba Zizbas because Gift of Self is pretty good. Now we care about Mountain. This Ortis Trooper is going to be a high-value character here. Yeah, I think it's getting rid of one of these Baba Zizbas. I don't love that, but let me know if you would have done something different. Thankfully, this Sunisa has Defender, because neither expedition is behind. Importantly, she cares if it's behind specifically and not behind or tied, which a lot of these cards say. They're templated that way. And then the Bumblebeat is just a 3-mana, potentially 3/3/3 that comes out with Anchored. Pretty unusual in Sigismar, I believe. I don't know if I've seen anyone play this card in an Ortis deck. But I'm interested to see if they have some cool synergy or neat tech that I'm not aware of. So I'm up first. I'm tempted to just play this Ortis Trooper on the left side and make them commit to this side, and I can always just Gift of Self it and make my Maw. And that seems simple enough. So let's just play with what we have face up and go from there. They are playing Sunisa on the right side, which has Defender, so they cannot advance. And they're now blocking me on both sides. They're doing their best impression of a Goal Ring deck. Very interesting. I could play this Baba Zizba and plan to like Chrysalis the left side and sacrifice it to draw, or sacrifice it to make a Mana Moth and win the left side potentially. What are my other options? I could play the Disciple and Gift of Self. I could play the Chrysalis and Gift of Self. That gives me more cards to draw. But getting the Baba Zizba online is pretty important, so I think I'm going to just go with that. Draw another Disciple. Not really the best card, or something that I wanted to see necessarily. It does go over the top of this left side if they don't have a follow-up, which I think is relatively unlikely. They may have the rare Mobile Armory that they can play on the side with Sunisa and remove this defender effectively. That would be interesting. Did they pick the wrong hero building their deck? Did they mean to click Goal Ring? So they have a unique that has Scout. Aegis Templar with Scout 2. I'll read it in just a moment. Looks like it's making some dudes. Okay. Scout 2, if you control a token, make a 1/1/1 in each of your expeditions. That's pretty sweet. And they could have a follow-up play, because the next card you play costs 1 less if they discard this from their reserve. So they could have a 1-drop, like a Mobile Armory, like I was just saying. How do we play around that? I don't know that we really can. We can play both Disciples on this left side, which is kind of funny. It does win that side. I mean, they have no mana. They'd have to spend... I'll try it. I'll try to play both both Disciples on this left side. Hopefully they just pass here. They do pass. Okay, we've got both Disciples coming through. Very funny way to win this left side. So we get the 1-0. And we can now reduce the cost of spells by a lot, which is pretty exciting. Well, we've got 2 pair in our hand. What do we not need? I don't think we need the Chrysalis, to be honest. Although it does make the most power. Gift of Self is really good. So if I make a Maw this turn, that's potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5, 6, one of these Chrysalis, potentially. I could use the support ability, so it would be 1, 2, 3. And that's a little bit awkward on my mana curve. So I'm probably not activating one of these this turn. What does that mean for what I pick here? That means I probably don't need a character. So let's get rid of a Chrysalis. So they will likely play this Templar this turn. This Bumblebeat is not really doing a whole lot. I'm interested to see what... Okay, so they have an Orta Spy to sabotage one of my Disciples. That's okay. I already planned on discarding that at some point. I think we'll just play this Disciple on the side where it has relevant statistics, because my right side only cares about Forest, and I don't have any on this. So they could just play this Bumblebeat. I'm not sure what side they would play it on. Okay, they do play the Bumblebeat. So let's plan to make our Maw and sacrifice this Disciple. Essentially trading 1 for 1 here. Let's go ahead and Gift of Self this guy. Draw a couple of cards. Sigismar Nurse and my 3rd Chrysalis. I really don't love this play, but I might just have to Chrysalis and sacrifice it to win this right side. That seems like my best bet, to be honest. Yep, let's just go ahead and do that. This is pretty overkill, but I need to advance. My opponent starts the day with a 4/4/4 worth of stats on this left side, so we're likely not going to try and contest. Do find a Tooth Fairy, which is pretty interesting. Again, this Sigismar Nurse is not looking that great, right? It's a 3-mana 4/4/4. I've got a 2-mana 4/3/3 in my hand, and I'd rather draw the cards, I think. Do I need the guys? I'm the first player, so I really want to lead with this Tooth Fairy and probably hit this Templar. I think I get rid of this Nurse. Well, the problem is I'm not beating this left side if I play Amarok here. So I don't plan to play the Amarok this turn, unless I want to just buff up my Maw a lot by playing Chrysalis. The Moth sacrifices itself, and that's 4 mana, 6 mana. Maybe I am playing the Nurse. This is really weird. I'm not really sure what to do here. It's probably get rid of this Gift of Self. That was tough. Let me know what you would have done differently there. My Amarok just ties this left side. But for 2 mana, oh, it doesn't even tie. It actually still loses. So I probably just lead with Tooth Fairy, and I sabotage this Templar, and just play it on the right side. Hopefully that threw a wrench in their plans, but we will see. The interesting thing about this Amarok is that I can play it on the left side, for example, for 2 mana, and then I can play this Chrysalis, but I don't actually have to sacrifice the Chrysalis to the Amarok. It's templated that I can sacrifice 1 character, so I could sacrifice this Tooth Fairy, for example. Not that I think I would do that, but that is an option. Okay, I could make my Maw sacrifice an After You, and then that would give me Chrysalis plus Ysmir Nurse, and that seems fine. But I'm going to start falling behind on cards pretty fast with this avenue. I'm also falling behind on time, so I need to start playing faster. I only have 30 seconds left. My opponent has 2 minutes on the clock. They play a rare Anubis. Each player sacrifices a character. Okay, that's pretty good. So what are we doing now? We can still go the Chrysalis plus Ysmir Nurse route, and we could win either side. We've seen Sunisa in their deck, so we don't want to get ahead, which means we want to... Well, we don't really have a choice. Either side we win, we're going to get ahead. Yeah, I mean, this just starts with playing Chrysalis, so I want to stay in Forest, I guess, because Amarok has good Forest stats, so let's try and win this right side. Hopefully they just pass here, and they don't have a 1 mana follow-up. Their build is so interesting. Bumblebeat, Anubis, Sunisa. They do pass. So let's just do our plan here. Make 666 worth of stats. If I did my math correctly, which certainly possible I did not. I did do my math correctly, and we do get the 1-0 advance. Coming down to the wire, but I am very far behind on cards here. That certainly helps. That certainly helps a lot in the card department. So this turn we can make Maw for 1, play Jellyfish for 1, that's 2 mana, Amarok for 2, that's 4 mana, play Jellyfish again for 5. So I don't actually need to mana. I'm going to choose not to. And they're up first. We do have to worry about this Anubis at some point, because that is Arrow, each player sacrifices a character. They essentially have a 1 mana After You. So to play around this Anubis, what I can do is I can make my Maw and play the Jellyfish, or I can just start with the Jellyfish, right? That seems perfectly fine. Or I could start with the Baba Zizba and draw a card. All of these seem fine, so I'll start with the Baba Zizba. Draw a Tooth Fairy. Okay, that's great. Now we can deal with this Anubis, and we no longer have to play around it. They have 1 card left in hand after we Tooth Fairy here. Let's plan to Tooth Fairy the right side. That was a pretty well-timed Tooth Fairy. Sorry about that. I don't know why Firefox does that, where if I go to the top of the screen, it... Oh, the Teamwork training my Tooth Fairy. Now that is interesting. So I have 3 mana left. Can I win both sides with 3 mana? It looks like I can, because I can play Amarok on the left side. Oh no, I'm 1 mana shy, because I'm not the first player. What's my plan then? I can play this Nurse on the right side, but that gives them a Sabotage. I could play Nurse plus Jellyfish on the left side, which is better for me. So that seems like the play. Okay. We get the 1-for-1 advance here. Sorry, I have a cat on my lap who is desperate for attention. And I'm feeling good about our spot here going into this last day. We find a Moth Breeder who I don't actually think we need. But what's our mana situation looking like? We have a free Maw. We have a 2-mana Amarok, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This Tooth Fairy is likely not seeing any play. We probably keep our cards again. And just try to win this turn by buffing up our Maw. Yeah, not sure. I could see a world, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then whatever I draw off of my 2 Jellyfish could maybe be worth putting this Moth Breeder away. That seems okay. If I draw like a 3-mana card. Opponent decides to keep both of their cards. I don't think I'm going to play around another Teamwork Training. Or if I do want to play around another Teamwork Training, it would be leading with this Amarok on the left side. Because if I play this Jellyfish, they can Teamwork Training it, and then I don't actually get to After You or draw a card from it, which seems not ideal. So let's try and play around another Teamwork Training. And just play this Amarok. I expect him to play this Monolith Legate here on this left side. They'll tie me. Coming down to the wire here, I only need to win one side. I have 2 Baba's Isbas in play. Interesting. They play a Monolith Rune Scribe. If you control token, resupply. They find a rare Ortis Spy, which can make a 1/1/1. If this last card in their hand is Teamwork Training, does that mean I just play this Jellyfish from my hand? If I play this Jellyfish from my hand, because I'm trying not to expose my Maw to a Teamwork Training. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I just play this Tooth Fairy on this right side. And plan to After You this Tooth Fairy. By After You, I mean sacrifice it to this Isba. Make them make a move here. Really need to know what this last card is. Could be like a license withdrawal or a tiny jail. That would be bad too. There's a lot of things it could be. Yeah, again, so if this is a Teamwork Training and I After You, they Teamwork Training this Amarok. And then how do I win? It seems like I don't if they do that. All right, let's bank on it not being a Teamwork Training now, I think, is the play. I get to draw a card off of this Moonlight Jellyfish that at least gives me more options. I can sacrifice this Tooth Fairy, actually, but I'd rather draw a card and start winning this right side. Find a Nurse. Okay, a Nurse is pretty good. Let's see if this last card is removal. Maybe I was a little low on this Nurse. They've been looking good when I've been drawing them later in the game. I could still be a Teamwork Training. They have 2 mana left. It could be a Tiny Jail. If it's Tiny Jail, I can sacrifice this Tooth Fairy, which I guess is the best play. Not sure. Let's just hope it's not a Teamwork Training. If it is a Teamwork Training, I can Ysmir Nurse and play... I can sacrifice this Amarok and have a 4/4 on this right side and win that way. My opponent has no idea I've been playing around Teamwork Training, or at least trying to play around Teamwork Training. Man, I legitimately almost ran out of time. It was a Teamwork Training. Okay. So they hit the Maw, I play the Ysmir Nurse, and that should be the end. Wow. Okay, so theoretically, yeah, you can sacrifice a character, make a 4/4 on this right side, and that should be the game. Man, what a top deck of the Ysmir Nurse. That is crazy. GG. And I somehow take a game off of a Sigismar. Really interesting build that they had going on over there. I'd have to look at that at the in the replay to see what they're working with. Okay, next game we are up against Treyst. Oh man. My last video I lost a couple times to a few Treyst decks. These have been a very popular deck recently. Our opponent's playing on mobile. And we have 3 Sigismar nurses in our hand. We're definitely getting rid of 1 nurse, probably a Moth Lantern for this first turn. Do we get rid of a second nurse? Probably. On this first turn, we can plan to just make a Maw and make a 4/4/4. Our opponent's likely not beating that. We probably want to keep some removal. This seems fine. Let's see how my opponent feels about a 4/4/4. I really love the art on Nurse, so I'm hoping that it, sees more play. Tell an Elemental to put a Foundry Mechanic into reserve, so they can play a permanent for cheaper. Let's see if they decide to do that. They do. What do they have? Oh, a Haven. Excellent. So I have a License Withdrawal. I can actually deal with that. I could potentially Scout plus Haven next turn, or Scout plus License Withdrawal, or I could Sigismar Nurse plus License Withdrawal. They're on the play, so if they decide to play this Elemental as a 2/4/4, that's potentially not great for me first, but that's okay. Oh, I draw a Boom. This Moth Breeder is probably the worst card in my hand then. They Frozen Delivery. That's nice. That lets me lead with a License Withdrawal here to get rid of this Haven. I play this Kellen Elemental. 1/3/3 on that side, and I think I'm just going to try and play a 2/2/2 on this side, and I'm hoping they don't have anything for 1 mana that can beat me here. We're slightly ahead on cards. Let's try to draw a Baba's Isba. That would be great. We did draw a Baba's Isba. Man, our hand is really good. We probably need to keep this Tooth Fairy, and these 3 cards I think we need to keep, so we're probably getting rid of Boom, sadly. Tooth Fairy is a weird card in this matchup because it does trigger their Treyst. Treyst says when a card leaves your reserve in the afternoon, put a counter on it. Well, Sabotage is making a card leave your opponent's reserve in the afternoon. So hitting this hooked is... man, it's good to hit this hooked because it prevents them from drawing a card. So that's probably what I'm going to lead with. But like I said, it does tick up their Treyst. This is a pretty removal-heavy match. Very scrappy game so far. They play their Axiom Salvager on this side. That is okay. Let's go ahead and play this Isba. We drew another Isba. Happy to see that. They pass. Okay, so we can actually get the 2/0 here by playing our Jellyfish, making our Maw, and sacrificing the Jellyfish to the Isba. Try not to misclick here. All right, that is a big day for us. 2/0. Down to 1 card in hand and 1 in reserve. But their Treyst is online next turn. Hopefully our big lead can help us close this game out quickly. Okay, so of these cards, what do we need? We're almost definitely mana-ing here. I can lead with a Baba's Isba, which doesn't seem like the worst thing. And if I'm planning to make a... Sorry about that. If I'm planning to make a Maw this turn, it's 1, 2, 3, and then maybe 4. And a Moth Lantern? So maybe this Disciple is the worst card in my hand? What sucks is that this Tooth Fairy is clearly the worst card. So, but I can't choose to mana that. So Treyst is now online. They get a resupply here. That's a great card to hit. Great card to see and know about, too. They get an after you, essentially, right after this. So let's just play another Baba's Isba, I think. We draw a second copy of Jellyfish. Happy to see that. Activating Treyst, and this is where you start to get buried in card advantage. Ooh, they have a Grimm's, which can hit the Isba. One of the Isbas, anyway. They are going to destroy an Isba. That is just fine. Sadly. Sadly, just fine. I think we're just going to play this Jellyfish and plan to make Maw plus Moth Lantern and try to win this right side. It's going to be tight, though. We don't really have enough pressure. They have a Sap Sniffer, but that doesn't really do anything currently. They have 2 mana left. So if I go make Maw plus Moth Lantern, how can they deal with my board effectively? I don't think that they really can, so let's just try to do that. We draw our unique Katagiran Alchemist, which is just a 2 mana 2/2/2 that resupplies when it's sacrificed. Nothing special. Not that amazing, to be honest. It does have that supportability of After You, which I don't know how often that's going to come up, but I think it'll be good if it does. They have a Kellen Cylinder. Let's see where they put this boost. Okay, yep, just going to assume they can't beat a 4/4/4 with 1 mana. Looks like they cannot. They could Sap Sniffer to augment here and make it a 3/3/2. And then they would have 3/4/4. Yeah, that's not quite good enough. Do get the single advance. So I need 2 more advances. Blizzard is interesting. Chrysalis is also pretty good for just pushing a lot of power onto the board. Or statistics, I should say. So what's my plan this turn? I don't think I'm going to Blizzard. I can plan to play the Jellyfish, and then after the Jellyfish, I can make the Maw plus Moth Lantern, or I can just Jellyfish plus After You. I think this Blizzard is the worst card in my hand. Could be this Alchemist. Just a 2 mana 2/2/2. It's basically the same thing as this. No, I think it's the Blizzard. Let's get rid of the Blizzard. That was a tough choice. Let me know if you would have done something differently. I'm up first, of course, so I will lead with this Jellyfish on the right side. My opponent has 2 cards in their hand. Now a second card in their reserve. Hopefully it's not another Grimm's that can deal with this Isba. That would be worst case scenario. Okay, they find a Frankenstein, which is pretty good. This comes out as a 4/4/4 for 2 mana. Because it can activate this Kellen Cylinder with its from reserve ability. You may activate the arrow abilities of target permanent you control. This says target character gains a boost, so this is a 2 mana boosted 3/3/3. And if they play it on this side with my companion, I don't really have a plan for winning that. Why would they play a Vyke here? You may play exhausted cards from your reserve. What does that mean? Well, I don't really have any other choices, so I'm just going to make my Maw, and I'm going to After You this Jellyfish. And that's going to be my play. I'm going to tie this side and see what they've got. So they can make a 3/3/3 and then augment it with Sap Sniffer? And that's maybe their plan here? Just trying not to use this Frankenstein for as long as possible? Oh, they have an Anansi, a unique Anansi. Sorry, I keep going to the top of my screen. I hate that it does this. I gain a boost for each card in your reserve. Okay, when a card leaves your reserve during the afternoon, you may sacrifice a permanent. If you do, I gain a boost for each card in your reserve. Wow. So they are going over the top on this side. Can I even compete with that? If I play my Jellyfish here and then I Moth Lantern it, that makes a 4. 4/4/4 worth of stats, so I go to 6/6/6. That's not even big enough to compete currently. That's 3 mana. This is 5 mana when I play this card. So I think we try to pivot to the other side. I will get to draw another card. Let's see. Let's just see what our opponent plays. So they're just going to play their Frankenstein on this side as expected. Make it a 4/4/4 essentially. They did choose to sacrifice it and make this side bigger. That's okay. We should be able to beat a 4/4/4 just fine by just playing this Alchemist and this Moth Lantern. Oh no, that just ties actually. So I'd need to draw something. That's not great. Yeah, let's see what we draw, I guess. Maybe I'll draw a Ysmir Nurse. Nope. Okay. They pass. I can just tie, which is not really that exciting. But it's probably the best play. I do get to keep my Moth Lantern in play, which is good. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing. Sadly, I don't have another 1-drop to follow up with, but I think we'll just take the 1/0 and be happy with that. They do overload their reserve, so this is good for me. I do have a Tooth Fairy in my hand, so I might have an opportunity to snipe this unique. I have a Moth Lantern in play, which I'm very happy with. Gift of Self is a good draw, but so is Off You Go. That Off You Go is going to be back-breaking for them. So maybe it's this Tooth Fairy that I get rid of. They have 1 card in hand. Could be the Chrysalis, but the Chrysalis makes a bunch of power, bunch of statistics. It's probably the Gift of Self. I should be able to win with what I have, so let's plan for that. I say win. Get in a substantial enough lead to not need that Gift of Self. So let's see what they start with. Wow, I do get an opportunity to snipe this unique. That's pretty insane. The problem is I have an Off You Go in my hand to not really have to worry about the unique. If I play it here, I start winning this side and I answer the unique. Maybe I hit this Frozen Delivery instead and just get rid of their card advantage. I think that's the play. It's going to look really weird, but I don't think there's anything they can do about it. Let me know what you guys would have done here. They're probably very confused as to why I didn't hit the unique. My Tooth Fairies have felt strong this game. They've landed on some very critical feeling pieces anyway. So they do play their unique as expected. And we can just immediately Off You Go that unique. And that should hand us the game, I think. They have 1 card in hand and a Sap Sniffer. Very low on resources. Let's see what they've got. They go with the Sap Sniffer. We can just play this Alchemist on this right side and be winning for 1 mana, so let's just go ahead and do that. Let's see what this last card in their hand is. It's an Amelia Earhart. Sadly, opponent, that is not going to be good enough. So we'll make our Maw. We can sacrifice this guy. Oh, and our opponent has conceded the game. All right, well, we got our redemption against Treyst, if you watched that Goal Ring video, and that was a really interesting one. I felt pretty much in the driver's seat the entire time. I had a big advantage in terms of cards, and I did take a lot more time to think, but I think it rewarded me in that game. Anyway, Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Lindiwe gameplay. If you want to give me feedback, of course, feel free in the comments. Like and subscribe as always. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.